Brightest blessings, this is Raven, and today we're going to have a look through one of my smaller books of shadows. You can probably hear Douglas in the background. It's very early in the morning and he's adamant he's having kisses and cuddles. Here he is. This is Douglas. Not that you can necessarily see him particularly well. What's this? Up here. Oh, good boy. So now you have a face to the name. So this is from last year, where I started looking at a few different projects, and this is when I really started to decide whether I wanted specific books for specific topics. And I started doing things like Crystal of the Month, Tarot of the Month, and that practice has continued, but in a different book. Excuse me. So at the start of this one is all about ancient magic, essentially, a history, really, of witchcraft and looking into those areas. And a lot of this information I found in books and on the internet, from magazines, from podcasts, and some of it is my own personal information as well. So there I'm looking at Persian magic. I wanted to look at magic across the world and combine it to find out where really witchcraft came from in my own practice. Everybody's practice is slightly different, and that's one of the things that I love about paganism and witchcraft itself, is that it's not always the same for everybody. And I would class myself as an eclectic pagan witch, and I call myself that because I look at all these different pantheons and the history and decide which parts suit me. And I actually found pieces from every single pantheon that I found would resonate with me. And I think personally that that's very interesting. And this book again has a lot of flip outs. And there's a nice mix in here of colour and pictures to help me learn the information. This was some watercolour painting I did, just doing different shapes, and I thought it would look nice as a background. Here I'm talking about the witch trials. from all over the world. This is just very small pieces, snippets of information. This started as just a basic notebook, really, that where I was just putting little pieces of information. It wasn't a full-on research project. So this is how my topic Book of Shadows evolved. It started as just being a small notebook like this one with snippets of information that I found interesting that I could then look back on and do further research on. And a lot of this, in the next month or so, I will be going through, picking and choosing the information I want to keep and remaking this either for pages in my main grimoire, or I may well start a new smaller Book of Shadows similar to this size, and that may be all about the history of witchcraft and magic and paganism, which is likely what I will end up doing, because a lot of these snippets of information I am interested in, I just hadn't got round to doing the full research on. And here I'm looking at things that I'm not necessarily interested in, such as Wicca, but I do find that it has a really big impact on my craft and my thoughts and beliefs. So Gerald Gardner, I don't follow Wicca whatsoever, but there are certain aspects of Wicca that have influenced my practice and influenced witchcraft as a whole. And therefore I found it really important to have that information there. Again, Satanism is not something that I align myself with, but there are aspects that I find interesting and aspects that I find have influenced witchcraft today. So again, that is included. So it's all about chaos magic, sigils, the Pendle Witches, Margaret Murray. And these are all names that if you aren't familiar with yet, give them a look, do some research. And this is where I've put a little charm on, because I moved on from there onto angels. And I moved on to angels because this was a time when my grandmother died, and my grandmother was Christian. She was actually in the Salvation Army, and I grew up not in the Salvation Army, but going to the Salvation Army with my grandparents, and I loved being at the church. I just didn't find that the whole ethos of Christianity aligned with me. But angels, something stuck with me about angels, so I really wanted to research the lore about angels, and because she passed away, this helped me feel a bit closer to her. So this is just the start of the angel research. There is another book about angels as well, and again this will be one where I look back in the next month or so and decide what information I want to keep and what aspects I want to research more. So here you can see Christian angels, and I also look at other angels, so Buddhist and Hindu angels, Islamic angels. And the reason I've done this is because you'll find that a lot of the information gathers together and influences your current belief. So Celtic angels, I found that really interesting. North American legends and shamanism. Egypt and Greece, spheres of heaven. And here I'm talking about guardian angels. And this is actually where some of my shadow work coincides, because this is talking about the 3 parts of the soul, and how Kabbalists believe that the soul has 3 parts. And this sort of started me on my shadow work research into soul wounds and, you know, all of that. Because as soon as I read and did all of this, I thought, actually, you know, that really is going to influence my shadow work, because it's who I am in my soul, and I actually wanted to do more research. So that then branched something else off, and you'll find that as you start researching things, that it will give you more pathways to other areas, to the point where you've got so many things you want to research and read about and look at, that you become sort of a web, really, of information. This is talking about chakras and angel rays. And this is just breaking down the rays here. And a lot of this information is not stuff that I use day to day. It's not stuff that I'm necessarily going to use, but having it gives me that sense of fulfillment. I have all of the information that I need to do the work if I want to do the work. And although I haven't done much work with angels as yet, because I would class myself as still at the very early stages of doing angelic works, now that I have all of this information, I feel better for knowing it. And that's really what it's all about. It's influenced my practice for sure. And I think that's all you really can do, especially when you're first learning about something, is just get as much information as you possibly can and identify the pieces that work with you. And go from there, really. And here is the last page. And then at the back here, I've just put an old necklace charm in here. So that is that. This was a gift from my partner for Christmas 2 years ago. I tend to collect notebooks. I'm terrible for it, especially bullet journal with, you know, the dot grid books. But this one is really pretty. The only issue I had with this is that it just wasn't big enough. I like the B5 size and not this A5 size. But still, each to their own. So now that we've finished that, I've got a couple of things that I want to chat to you about, and I hope you won't mind. In our next video, we're going to go back to the journal that we've been making, and we're going to start putting ephemera and things inside and putting a closure on. And then we are also, that's going to coincide with a release on my Etsy shop. I've had a few people ask for some digital copies of some of my pages from my Books of Shadows, and I've been working on some from my kitchen Book of Shadows, which, if I can reach, is just here, because I've been putting things around. Now, I'm not going to make an exact replica of every page, but I am making some pages with some of this information on. And so far I've got to about 4 or 5 pages. Once I get to a few more, I will release them in the next few days on my Etsy. I will also release a couple of free ones on my Facebook page, so I will link both my Etsy and my Facebook down below so that you can keep checking back there if you want to. So people wanted a layout similar to this. Now, it's a little bit more difficult to do a digital one, other than obviously photocopying this, you know, scanning it in and doing it that way. But I have made some that are similar looking. So lots of smaller snippets of information and pops of colour and illustrations throughout the pages, with a lot of this info in. For example, a herbal first aid kit, prosperity oil, all those sorts of things that you can use in your Books of Shadows. You could use them just as inspiration, and I'm going to put them on Etsy in groups of 5. So I'm hoping to get 3 groups of 5 done, so 15 pages in total. I haven't decided on a price yet. I need to have a look through Etsy and see how much people are charging for such things, because they are taking me a long time to do. But it was something that people have asked for, and I'm happy to do it. You just need to bear with me, okay? Now, obviously, you've seen this journal before if you've flicked through some of my other videos, so I'm not going to go through this whole thing because you've seen it before. You can just go back to that video. But I just wanted to give you a quick glance at some of the pages so you can see the sort of thing I'm going to be making. And I'm doing them in A4 size purely because that's easy for people to then fold in half and stick in a book this size, or even, you know, the A5 size folded in half and stuck in. But for those that have the bigger grimoires and Books of Shadows, they've got that size then. And they are single-sided. However, I will include some plain backgrounds that you could print on the back side of those so that you can write on them. However, there's no reason why you couldn't back-to-back them. If you have a printer and you're able to sort that out, you could do that also. So that is that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is in the next few videos, we're going to have a look at this box that I've made. So I'm just going to give you a quick preview. This is a wooden box from The Works. I think it cost me £5. These are papers from the herbal box kit from Victoria Designs, and I've decorated it and done lots of bits and bobs. It's not finished. When I get to the point where I can't think of what else to put in, I will do the video and ask you guys what you think I could put inside. I really enjoyed doing this. It took a while, but yes, I really enjoyed doing that. The other thing is Etsy shares. I've had quite a lot of requests from Facebook groups to share their Etsy shops. It's not something that I want to do regularly, but if you have an Etsy shop and you have digital things that you think I would use, let me know in the comments or go onto my Facebook page and send me a message and we'll come up with something. I've got 2 or 3 already ready to, they've sent me their digital stuff and I'm just waiting for my new printer to come in the next day or so. I will print those out and then we will do some projects with those. The idea is to show everybody on the channel a variety of different Etsy shops, but also a variety of different content. I know a lot of you guys are here purely for just the Book of Shadows and the pagan witchy stuff, and some of you are purely crafty and aren't interested in any of that. You just want to look at the journals and the ephemera. So I'm trying to do a nice balance of both. I've got lots and lots of ideas for both, but if you have any ideas of things that you'd like to see on the channel, please do comment below, or if you prefer, you can go to my Facebook channel and message me. Because ultimately this channel is for you guys, it's not just for me. I want to make content that you want to watch. So, yeah,